Memphis, police officer accused of killing two cousins during a weekend crash in Cordova is being let out of jail. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Symone Woolridge. Good to be with you. A big story here. Officer Antonio Marshall's release was ordered during his first court appearance this morning. Our Peter Fleischer was there when it all happened. And Peter, we heard it was quite emotional. So walk us through those moments inside of the courtroom.
That's a good way of describing it. WREG News Channel 3.
That family full of emotions, and rightfully so. Thanks, Peter. Breaking news this afternoon, the Shelby County Sheriff's Office has charged a driver with attempted murder after a violent encounter Tuesday. Demetrius Davis is accused of hitting a deputy with his car during a traffic stop on Flowering Peach Drive. The deputy shot at Davis, sending both to the hospital. Investigators say Davis is a convicted felon. Now to breaking news out of New York, where charges are expected soon against President Donald Trump's business and his longtime money man. Anonymous sources are telling the Associated Press that charges related to tax crimes will likely be handed down tomorrow. The case against the Trump Organization and its chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, appear to be tied to benefits given to top executives.
I'll tell you about what to expect weather-wise in just a moment.
Down to the minute information there. See you soon, Todd. This afternoon, President Biden is turning his attention to the drought and wildfires out west. He's hosting governors from western states to explain what his administration can do to help. Skylar Henry reports from the White House. Across the nation, new developments in the search for survivors at that building collapse in South Florida. Firefighters have found 4 more bodies, raising the death toll to 16. More than 140 people are still missing this afternoon. Firefighters say they continue to hear sounds coming from the pile of rubble, but they acknowledge that it could be the sound of debris settling. Crews say they are still in a search and rescue mode with workers on 12-hour shifts. President Biden and the First Lady will visit the site tomorrow. A very disturbing story here. It's being called one of the worst cases of neglect in recent memory. An elderly woman found covered in bed bugs and bodily waste at a home in Nutbush. This afternoon, the woman's daughter, June Harbor, is charged with aggravated neglect and abuse of the elderly. Here's her picture. Police say they found her mother at a home on Duke Road after someone called 911 and just hung up. And according to court records, the 85-year-old was sleeping on a soiled mattress on the floor. Officers say they found soiled sheets and blankets on the ground outside and lots of trash inside the home. They say the conditions were just so bad that some first responders had to put on hazmat gear. June Harbor is said to be the woman's primary caretaker. A social worker told officers that Harbor's mother was suffering from pneumonia, malnutrition, ulcers, and dementia. Well, earlier today, one of Harbor's family members called us to dispute the claims made by police. They say officers' versions of the story is just not true and that Harbor is still waiting for her day in court. A new lawsuit is raising questions about the police culture right here in Memphis. A former police officer, Devin Clemens, is suing the city, accusing certain leaders at MPD of creating a hostile work environment. Clemens, who is gay, says he was the target of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation because of his religion and sexual orientation. He worked for MPD for nearly 20 years and says the trouble started after he reached a settlement in a separate legal filing. Clemens claims he was forced to give up his office, assigned vehicle, and all of his teaching assignments before he says he was forced to resign. One of the officers named in the suit allegedly made homophobic comments after sharing a video of Clemens' engagement to his now husband, who also works for MPD. A host of new laws take effect tomorrow, affecting everything from public bathrooms to teacher pay. But the change making the most headlines has to do with guns and your right to carry a weapon. So here's what you need to know. Starting at midnight, it will be legal for Tennesseans to carry their handguns without a permit, as long as you are over the age of 21 and a legal U.S. resident without a felony record, pending charges, restraining orders, or mental health problems. People with a DUI conviction in the last 5 years are also banned from carrying without a permit. Memphis police and other law enforcement agencies have warned that the new law could lead to more violence. Republicans say the law simply allows people to exercise their constitutional rights. They also point out that it stiffens penalties for gun-related crimes. A missing girl in Middle Tennessee has been found and is in safe hands thanks to a sheriff's deputy and his bloodhound. The dog, named Fred, managed to track down the 6-year-old after sniffing some clothes that belonged to her father. Deputies found the girl and her father, Nicholas Reeder, in the back of a shed. He's now charged with child abuse or neglect. Officers had been searching for the girl since May. As a reward for finding her, Fred got a snack on some chicken and pizza crust. Good for Fred. Well, billions of dollars lost to COVID, and it looks like some could lose billions more. The latest decision from the Supreme Court that some say is picking winners and losers. Plus,
I think the fact that it called with him being unconscious is the key, because I wasn't due to come home for another couple hours.
a man survives a brush with death, and it's all due to some modern technology, the gear that called 911 while he was outside in the cold. The time is now 12:14. Some big breaking news coming just into our newsroom. Bill Cosby is getting out of prison. Pennsylvania's highest court threw out his sexual assault conviction this morning. Cosby has spent the last 2 years behind bars in Philadelphia. The 83-year-old says he'd rather serve his full sentence than to express any remorse. The U.S. Supreme Court is allowing a federal ban on evictions to stay in place, at least for now. A group of landlords challenged the latest extension, saying the CDC doesn't have the authority to block evictions. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote an explanation agreeing that the CDC lacks authority, but he supported the ruling against the landlords because the latest eviction ban will expire in just a few weeks at the end of July. He says the extra time will allow for an orderly distribution of federal relief funds, but he also cautioned that Congress would need to pass a new law giving the CDC more power for another eviction ban to hold up in court. Landlords say they are losing about $13 billion a month in unpaid rent. The government argued that keeping people in their homes would help slow the spread of COVID. A North Carolina man says he owes his life to his Apple Watch. It called 911 on its own after he passed out in the driveway. Allison Smith has the story. Hey, I'm in my 20s and I have mine on too.
Did you know it did those things?
Yes, and that's also why I keep mine on all the time. I would really want to know how many lives this has actually saved, because we have reported on stories like this before. It's pretty cool.
I see a brand new Apple iPhone iWatch commercial in the making.
Or an Android fight too. They might come up with their own.